The studio lights glowed hotter than usual that night, flooding the Tonight Show stage with a sharp, almost electric brightness that cut through the restless hum filling the room. The crowd was already buzzing, laughing, clapping, whispering, shifting in their seats. Camera flashes popped like fireflies, and that warm swirl of barely controlled chaos filled the air. The kind that always made late-night television feel so alive, so unpredictable. It was supposed to be one more easy, feel-good episode. Another comfortable night for the audience at home, a smooth ride for the host, and a relaxed showcase for the guest Leanne Morgan, America's favorite Southern storyteller, a woman whose voice could make even the simplest moment feel familiar. Was that night's featured guest. She'd spent decades building a reputation on clean, heartfelt comedy that made people laugh without ever leaning on shock value. Her charm wasn't manufactured. Her wit wasn't rehearsed within an inch of its life. Audiences of all ages loved her because what she said felt true. It felt like home. What no one in the studio knew, though, not the audience, not the band, not the crew, and certainly not Jimmy Fallon, was that this gentle, smiling comedian was about to reveal a side of herself she'd never shown on television before. Something raw, something real, something that would leave everyone in that room stunned and replaying the moment, long after the cameras stopped rolling. The moment she stepped out from behind the curtain, the crowd roared. People whistled, clapped, even stood. Leanne waved with that bright, easy warmth that made her instantly likable. Her confidence was effortless, her smile genuine. She radiated that classic Southern charm. Soft, friendly, disarming. Jimmy Fallon jumped up to greet her, arms wide, grin even wider, his voice bouncing with that signature late-night energy. "Ladies and gentlemen, Leanne Morgan," he cheered, hyping up an audience that didn't need any extra encouragement. The applause was thunderous. Leanne sat down, brushing a curl from her face with a playful laugh. "Well, mercy, y'all are going to make me cry," she said, her accent thick and sweet, like honey poured warm. For the first several minutes, everything was smooth as silk. Light, fun, familiar. Jimmy complimented her sold-out tour, her Netflix success, her growing audience. She teased him right back, downplaying her fame with her signature humor. "You know, I used to perform for 12 people," she said, lifting her brows dramatically, "and 6 of them were blood relatives." The audience cracked up. It was warm. It was easy. It was natural. Until Jimmy shifted. He leaned forward, elbows on the desk, and the energy in the room subtly but unmistakably changed. The rhythm slowed, the mood tightened, and a murmur rippled through the crowd as if everyone sensed something coming before he even asked the question. "Leanne," he began casually, too casually, "your comedy is so clean and wholesome. It's refreshing, but do you ever worry you're playing it a little safe?" Laughter faded. Not completely, but enough for a quiet unease to settle in its place. Leanne blinked. Her smile stayed, but her eyes sharpened. "Safe?" she repeated softly, as though she needed to be sure she heard him correctly. Jimmy kept smiling, maybe not realizing his question had landed wrong. "Yeah, I mean, you're hilarious, don't get me wrong. But some of the biggest comedians push boundaries, you know. They go dark. They take risks. Do you ever feel like you're limiting yourself?" The silence that followed wasn't long, but it was heavy enough to feel like a shift in gravity. Leanne sat back slowly, crossing one leg over the other, with deliberate calm. "Well, Jimmy," she said, her voice steady, "I don't think telling the truth about real life is limiting. I talk about marriage, about getting older, about kids who eat me out of house and home. That's not safe. That's just my life." The audience chuckled a little, but this time the laughter felt uncertain, thinner than before. Jimmy nodded quickly. Of course. I just mean, comedy's supposed to push buttons too, right? Make people uncomfortable sometimes. Don't you think staying too wholesome keeps you in one lane?" And that was the moment everything shifted. Leanne's gaze sharpened like a camera lens, snapping into focus. "One lane," she echoed. "I think I'm building my own road." A soft ripple of agreement moved through the crowd. A few scattered claps broke the tension. Jimmy laughed awkwardly, unsure whether to press forward or move on. "No, I get that," he insisted. "But honestly, do you think clean comedy gets the same respect as edgier stuff? When people think of the greats, they think of risk-takers." Leanne's expression changed. Her smile faded, replaced by something firm and unyielding. "Jimmy," she said slowly, "I've sold out Radio City Music Hall. Millions have watched my specials. Respect doesn't come from shock value. It comes from showing up night after night and connecting with people who see themselves in what you say." The crowd erupted in applause, louder, stronger, but Jimmy, instead of letting that be the end of it, pushed again. "I just wonder if maybe your comedy's too safe." That was it. The exact moment the temperature in the room dropped, as if the lights above had dimmed, even though they hadn't. Leanne's smile vanished completely. She turned toward him with a calmness that felt colder than anger. "Too safe," she repeated, her southern drawl now carrying a clear edge. "Jimmy, you're sitting here telling me that making millions of people laugh without a single curse word is too safe." Jimmy lifted his hands defensively. "I'm just asking. I mean, you have to admit, you don't take the same risks other comics do." Leanne leaned forward, her voice low and controlled. "You want to talk about risk? Try walking onto a stage with nothing but your own words, no writers, no safety net. Try doing it for 30 years, in bars, in clubs, in theaters, in rooms where people didn't want to laugh, where they dared you to fail. That's risk. I've lived it." Silence fell. Real silence. Even the band stopped shifting in their seats. Jimmy chuckled nervously. Okay, maybe I phrased that wrong." "No," Leanne said, cutting him off cleanly. "You phrased it just fine. You just didn't expect me to answer." The band exchanged glances. The audience froze. People weren't sure if this was still entertainment or if something raw was unfolding live on national television. Jimmy cleared his throat. "I'm not trying to offend you," he said carefully. "I'm just saying the industry is changing. People want comedians who take chances, who evolve." Leanne tilted her head slowly. "Evolve?" she repeated. "My last Netflix special is still trending. My tour keeps adding dates every week. People drive hours, sometimes states, just to laugh with me. You call that outdated?" Applause again, louder than before, now pulsing with support. Jimmy's smile tightened. "That's not what I mean. I mean artistically. Do you ever push yourself outside your comfort zone?" Leanne's eyes narrowed. "You think being a middle-aged woman in comedy is a comfort zone? You think talking about aging, motherhood, being ignored or dismissed past 50 is easy?" Her voice rose slightly, not angry, but powerful, sharp, undeniable. "You want to know what's easy, Jimmy?" she continued. "Sitting behind a desk with writers feeding you punchlines. That's easy. What I do, that's walking a tightrope every night." Gasps echoed through the studio. Some people leaned forward, others sank back, hands over their mouths. Jimmy tried to laugh it off, but the laugh didn't land. "That's a little harsh," he said, sounding defensive. "Maybe," Leanne replied, "but harsh isn't the same as wrong." Jimmy glanced off camera at his producers, silently pleading. But no rescue came. "Let's talk about your family," he said quickly. "You've got 3 kids, right?" But Leanne wasn't letting the conversation shift. "No, Jimmy, you wanted this conversation, so let's finish it." Her usual softness was gone. In its place was conviction. Decades of experience, frustration, resilience, all rising to the surface. "You called my comedy safe," she said. "But you haven't even watched my specials, have you?" Jimmy didn't answer. He didn't have to. "That's what I thought," Leanne said, nodding slowly. "You walked in here assuming clean means simple, but it's not. Clean comedy takes guts. It takes control. It takes real writing. Anybody can shock an audience. It takes skill to move one." The applause that followed was explosive. People broke the no recording rule, phones appearing everywhere. They wanted proof of this moment. A comedian standing her ground in a way rarely seen on live TV. Jimmy's face flushed red. "Leanne, I really do respect you." "Then act like it," she snapped gently but firmly. "Respect means you do your homework. Respect means you don't invite someone on your show just to question the legitimacy of their work." She leaned in slightly. "Tell me something you've had Jim Gaffigan here. Jerry Seinfeld, Brian Regan, all clean, all brilliant. Did you ever ask them if they were playing it safe?" Jimmy's mouth opened, then closed. "No," he admitted. "Exactly," Leanne said, "because they're men, and men get the benefit of the doubt." The room went dead quiet. No one moved. No one breathed. This wasn't a talk show bit anymore. This was a reckoning. "I'm not here to attack you," she said, softer now. "I'm explaining what it's like being a woman in comedy. You have to be twice as good to get half the credit. You smile through condescension. You shrug off disrespect. And you still make people laugh like it doesn't sting." Jimmy finally nodded. "I get it," he said quietly. "I hope you do," Leanne replied, "because understanding isn't enough. What matters is how you treat the next woman who sits in this chair." He nodded again, slower this time. "I'll do better." Leanne inhaled deeply, stood, and the entire studio gasped. Some thought she was joking. Others instantly knew she wasn't. "I appreciate your apology," she said. "But I can't sit here and pretend everything's fine, because it's not." Jimmy stood too, panic flickering across his face. "Leanne, wait, please don't go." "We're done," she said, unclipping her mic. "You heard me. I'm not smoothing this over, just to make everyone comfortable." His producers gestured wildly off stage, but Leanne didn't flinch. "You invited me here to talk about my tour," she said, "but instead, you questioned my credibility, and you don't get to breeze past that." "We can fix this," Jimmy said desperately. "Let's talk about it." "We just did." Her voice didn't waver. "And honestly, I don't want to sit on a show where the host didn't even bother to watch my work before judging it." A few audience members looked like they might cry. "I've been in this business a long time," Leanne said, "and sometimes the only way to get respect is to draw a line. Tonight, this is mine." Jimmy looked devastated. "Please don't leave like this." "Why not?" she asked softly. "Because it makes you look bad." "Maybe it should," she said. "Maybe people need to see what happens when disrespect has consequences." The audience erupted again. Louder, some people even standing. Leanne turned toward them, her voice gentler now. "I'm sorry it went this way, truly, but I hope you understand why I have to walk away." The cheers intensified. People were witnessing something real. Jimmy stood, frozen. "This isn't how I wanted this to go," he whispered. "Then you should have prepared differently," Leanne replied. "You should have done the work." She placed her microphone in a stagehand's hand, then faced the camera. To every young comedian watching, especially women, don't ever let anyone make you feel like your voice isn't enough. Tell your stories. Be yourself. And if someone disrespects you, you don't owe them your silence. You have every right to walk away. Cheers whistles, applause. A wave of support washed over the studio. Leanne disappeared behind the curtain as the audience rose to their feet. Jimmy sat down slowly, hands limp, eyes unfocused. "We're going to take a break," he murmured. The camera cut to commercial, but the moment had already taken on a life of its own. Within minutes, clips were everywhere: Twitter, TikTok, late-night recap channels. Some people argued Leanne had overreacted. Others said it was the most powerful thing they'd seen on live TV in years. One thing was undeniable. Respect means understanding. There are 100 ways to make people laugh, and every single one of them matters. Jimmy sat there quietly, no comeback ready, no jokes to break the tension. "You're right," he finally whispered. "I should have prepared better." Leanne, already halfway backstage in the footage, offered one last small, almost sad smile. "That's all I wanted to hear." The band didn't play, the crew didn't move, the audience didn't clap. The cameras stayed locked on the stage, a comedian and a host sitting in a silence more powerful than any punchline. When the commercial finally came, people still didn't move. They knew they had witnessed something raw, rare, and maybe even necessary. So now, the question is yours. Was Leanne right to stand her ground? Or did Jimmy's question cross a line? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you love moments where Hollywood's glossy polish cracks just enough to let the truth slip through, hit that like button. Because in this business, the funniest moments aren't always the ones scripted.